and say talk about mythical stories about Bhagat Singh, some cooked up stories also on Bhagat Singh, and keep people away from Bhagat Singh's ideas. That is also happening. The issue of, as she has mentioned, appropriation of Bhagat Singh. Appropriation of Bhagat Singh has become, I mean, the problem with people who are against Bhagat Singh, who are anti-socialist. Bhagat Singh was a socialist. That nobody can deny. Even those organizations which, for show do celebrate or do hold functions on Bhagat Singh, they also do it. Now they also cannot deny that he was a confirmed atheist. Earlier, people used to talk, or say in social media also, that this, why am I an atheist? These leftists have interpolated, it was never written by Bhagat Singh, it has been interpolated in the name of Bhagat Singh to his writings. Actually, what I did to counter these things, maybe still it might be continued, because you can have no control over social media, but there is no need to control also. But all sort of falsehood also come through social media. Even today, maybe some people doing this, about this. When I was working on Bhagat Singh, and I knew this kind of things were being said. So from Teen Murti, Nehru University Library, I got the issue of the people, where Why Am I Atheist was published first time. It was published on 27th September, today, this day, on 1931. Now it was a weekly. The weekly's day might have been that time 27th. So it was in a way, it was to mark after his execution, the first birth anniversary or first birthday of this. So the people published this article, which was reproduced by many. Even Professor Chandra reproduced this with his own introduction. But everybody missed one 3-line introduction in the published in that. People. The people was edited by, the people paper was set up by Lala Lajpat Rai. Lala Lajpat Rai has 2 papers. One was Bande Mataram, Delhi in Urdu, in which Bhagat Singh has also written something. And the people, it was English book. The people was edited by Lala Firoz Chand. Lala Firoz Chand is probably the best biographer of Lala Lajpat Rai. Publication is an old book I have bought in 5 rupees. That book, biography of Lala Lajpat Rai, is published long ago, in the 50s and 60s. So Lala Firoz Chand himself was a committed socialist, not Marxist, but socialist, committed socialist. So what has happened is, do you like my speaking like in such informal way? Because if you want to have a focused kind of thing, talk about some article and this and that. So I like to, speak in a way like telling some stories and all that. What has happened is that when Bhagat Singh was to be hanged, few days before, he handed over his jail notebook. A jail notebook, what is jail notebook? It was nothing, it was a school student's notebook. आपके पास जो कापी होती है वैसी कापी है, अब तो बड़े बड़े रजिस्टर मिलने लग गए, पहले छोटी कापी होती थी, 200-300 पन्ने की कापी, बड़ी कापी। तो वो जेल में उसने मंगवाई, परमिशन लेनी पड़ती है सब चीज़ों के लिए, मंगवा के उस पर अपने जितने टाइम जेल में था जितना किताबें वो पढ़ता था, उन किताबों से कोटेशंस उसमें नोट करता था. दैट वाज जेल नोटबुक. उसमें उसका अपना पर्सनल कुछ भी नहीं. पर्सनल देयर इज सम पार्ट, वेरी लिटिल पार्ट. वो ही वाज वर्किंग ऑन दैट पार्ट. That was the science of the state. How the state has developed from ancient communism, as you know in historical sense, to socialist state. He was working on that. If he could have completed that book, which was not allowed by the time and colonial administration, that would have been a big contribution to theoretical study of the Marxism. So that was the kind of thing. But there are very few pages of that. That is an abstract kind of thing, what he has written. That is some people, those who have read this real notebook, they might be remembering only 25-30 pages of the science of state notes. Other than that, there are only quotations and quotations from Marx, Lenin, Trotsky, from the Shakespeare, Tolstoy, Dostoevsky, Gorky, the world's classical literature, as well as the political economic literature. And also the books which were exposing the colonial administration route of India. So those are the kind of... Now, what happened is that this jail notebook, he didn't consider himself to be so important. उसने सोचा भगत सिंह के मतलब अपने किताबों के नोट्स लिखे, इसमें ऐसी क्या चीज़ है, तो उसने अपने भाई कुलवीर सिंह को दे दिया. तो कुलवीर सिंह उसको अपने पास ले गए घर में. लेकिन द रियल राइटिंग, द प्रॉपर पोलिटिकल राइटिंग, जो भगत सिंह जेल में लिख रहा है, जिसके उसके ड्राफ्ट पड़े हुए थे, all those things, he handed over only to Bhagat Singh Defense Committee Secretary Kumari Lajjavati. Kumari Lajjavati, there is a college in Jalandhar, Kanya Mahavidyalaya. So she was from student to the principal of that college. So she was secretary of Defense Committee. And she directly, reporting her activities to Jawaharlal Nehru of the Bhagat Singh Institute. Now, in a bundle, so Bhagat Singh handed over those papers to her and told her that when Vijay Kumar Sinha, his comrade and close comrade, to which he himself considered not only as a friend, but as an ideological close comrade. So you have to hand over this bundle of papers to him when he is released. Because Vijay Kumar Sinha, when they were convicted, many people were convicted to life imprisonment. So he was also convicted to life imprisonment. Later on he was shipped to Andaman. But that time he was not in Andaman, but he was in Rajamundry or some other jail, not in the Lahore. So, but what Kumari Lajjavati did, that was the simple times. People were not so smart and people were not so, So she directly went to Lala Firochand's office, people's office, and then told Firochan, ये भगत सिंह ने मुझे दिया है, उसके कागजों का बंडल है कुछ, तुम देख लो, ये तुम्हारे काम का कुछ है तो तुम देख लो. So she violated the very first day what Bhagat Singh has documented from her, it has to be handled. But she did well. Sometimes violation of the word produces better results. Remember these days what is happening. Marquez, one novel, he didn't publish all his life. And now, I think probably his son has the draft. Probably he, in his own sense, he has destroyed that draft of that novel. But it was lying with the family, with his son. And his son has recently, in the last 2-3 years, has published that Marquez novel. So there has been long discussion about it. So in a way, some people say, why did he violate his father's instruction not to publish, and he has published it. So, but in Lidyavati's case, this violation was really good violation, because very important writings of Bhagat Singh were published by the people. So Vijay Kumar Sinha was to be released from the jail. He spent time in Andaman and Nicobar, maybe in 40, 41 or 38 at the earliest. So by that 38, lot many writings of Bhagat Singh would have probably lost, or probably not come into the light, and Bhagat Singh would not have been known as a socialist thinker. Because of that violation of Lidyavati, that Lala Firozchand published on 9th June issue of the People, he published a letter about Hari Kishan. Hari Kishan was also a freedom fighter. So he was hanged on probably 23rd June or so. So about him, he wrote a letter, one which was lost, and his second letter, Lala Firozchand published. Then, letter to young political workers extracts, which is considered today the very classic document of Bhagat Singh, that was also, some extracts were published in People in those very days. And on 27 September, on Bhagat Singh's first birth anniversary, after hanging, he published his most classic essay, Why Am an Atheist? Now, that way, later on, other writings keep on coming to light. But in 1931 itself, before the end of 1931, Bhagat Singh was established as a socialist thinker, which was not recognized for a long time by the forces existing at that time. Even our leftists didn't make effort to, project him as the real socialist thinker of the freedom movement. That apart, that अलग बात है. लेकिन उसे वक्त से, but what happened is that now it will link to the topic which you mentioned, that how for 15, 16 years till 47 the independence then came, Bhagat Singh's writings remained in oblivion, and all forces in society, mostly Congress Party, which was leading the freedom struggle, and some others, some leftists and some other groups. So they kept on hammering to build Bhagat Singh as a brave, fearless. So his only image, which you find from 32 onwards till 47. Until 47, people even forgot what he has written in 31. And they just remembered that he was fearless. He was his fearless acts of challenging British colonialism, to hang him, to shoot him, that kind of thing. And not highlighting what his ideas were. Actually, what happened is that it happened long years, from 31 to 74 or 73. None of the Bhagat Singh writing, they were spread out in different journals, but no one collected into a collection. The first time in collection form, the Bhagat Singh writing came in Hindi. There was a journal, Mukti. That Mukti journal was edited by, now all three have passed away, English Bharat, Suresh Salil, and Trinity Joshi. Trinity Joshi was the alumni of JV. With great talent, Dobrol, the pre-revolutionary philosophical thinkers, there are 4 pre-Marxism, and these are books published by the Progressive publisher in Moscow, early times. Those books were never published again. In 50s and 60s, there are 5 books which you will just find now. Because during Lenin's time, Stalin's time, Lenin died too early. In Stalin's time, he was condemned like anything, he was damned like anything as a brutal person. But it was his time when the best things were published by that time it was not called Progress Publishers. This name came later, but there is a little different name. Selected philosophical works of Dobrolyubov. Dobrolyubov was just 24 years old when he died, and his philosophical works are contained into more than 500 pages in that volume. And they are very deep philosophical. These were the pre-Marxist materialist philosophers. And why Stalin has published it, that it's the development of materialism. Even prior to dialectical materialism, there have been forms of materialism, and particularly Russian Marxism, Leninism, has developed out of that pre-revolutionary materialist philosophers. One was Dobrolyubov, other was Belinsky. Belinsky was about 37 years old. One of the Lenin's theoretical book is named on Belinsky's novel. Belinsky wrote a novel, What is to be Done? It's a very interesting novel. Sometimes you should read also those who are fond of literature. Now, that has a philosophical stake in that. And Lenin named one of his theoretical books as What is to be Done? From taking inspiration from Belinsky. Herzog, Dobrolyubov, Belinsky, Herzog, and there was another, I'm forgetting his name, but there was another scientist, Pisarev. All these stories of psychological stories, that how dogs, tongue keeps on, starting. So that was the philosophical thinking, materialist philosophical thinking, or pre-scientific thinking, which were published during Stalin's time. I used to tell that Pisarev, Dobrolyubov would make such deep philosophical works at the age of 24. Bhagat Singh has much advanced age, because by the time Bhagat Singh came into picture, that was the time when the Russian Revolution has happened, when so much things have changed in the world. So his talent has created this kind of, So that sense, Bhagat Singh's ideas were suppressed, partly thinking that he is too young to write these things. Even probably our old, otherwise our leftist people, starting from the United Communist Party, CPI, they all have written on it. They have brought out pamphlets, small pamphlets on Bhagat Singh. They have highlighted some aspects of his ideas, but not to the extent that when Ajay Ghosh became secretary of CPI for long 12 years, but Ajay Ghosh himself admits that the charm or charisma which Bhagat Singh had, Ajay Ghosh didn't. And had Bhagat Singh been allowed to live, or had Bhagat Singh lived, the communist movement would have been led by Bhagat Singh, undoubtedly. He has a charismatic kind of personality. So like Lenin, like Stalin, and so many, Ho Chi Minh or Che Guevara. So that kind of personality he had. And that's why British colonialism was determined to kill him. Which Eugene Rani has very clearly, defined in his the trial of Bhagat Singh. It was a legal murder. It was a legal murder. He was murdered, but taking the cover of legality. So that's how his personality had been. But how difference does it make to us? It has made a much difference. Had Bhagat Singh's ideas been, brought to light, brought to focus from 47, 50s itself, the kind of rightist and movements, fascist kind of movements, ideas, communal kind of movements had been flourishing in India that would have never been flourished in presence of Bhagat Singh's ideas, and most likely communist parties would have been very, very strong. But they could have become an alternative to the Congress itself. And the real alternative which Bhagat Singh wanted to build. But Bhagat Singh also knew he was in that sense, so far-sighted a person. He could see his circumstances. He could see his circumstances, that there are such circumstances that Indian nation people's consciousness is too low. It's such low consciousness that needs to be shaken. That consciousness, low consciousness has to be shaken, and that shake by execution. They will be shaken by my execution, and then they will probably think more about country's freedom, about so. And he knew also that his organization was smashed. All his senior comrades, his friends and comrades, ideological people. Chandrasekhar Azad, their leader, was already killed on 27 February, almost a month before Bhagat Singh's execution. Bhakti Charan Vora, who was ideologically strong like Bhagat Singh, who wrote the manifesto of Naujawan Bharat Sabha and HSR, he was already, testing the bomb in Ravi Bank in Lahore. He already got, died by that accident, bomb explosion in his hand on 28th May 1930. All other people were in jail, and when convicted, they were given long sentences. So that practically the organization was smashed. After Bhagat Singh's execution, Yashpal has tried to, Yashpal is Hindi writer, but he was part of this HSRA. He was made HSRA commander for some time. But Yashpal himself was arrested just in 1932 or 1933, and just there was nothing of the organization to see. So Bhagat Singh knew that what I am alone. As an individual, I cannot do anything. You need an organization to build the movement. They had reached the right path of socialist revolution, though it was just developing. It was not a fully developed path. But on 8th and 9th September 1928, when they held their groups meeting in Firozshah Kotla grounds in Delhi, in which Chandrasekhar Azad was not present, but he has agreed with Bhagat Singh what they want to bring changes. So the word socialist, the earlier name of the organization was Hindustan Republican Association, and its militant wing was Hindustan Republican Army. And in that 2 days thorough discussions, and Bhagat Singh proposed to add socialist word to the organization, calling it Hindustan Socialist Republican Association, and its militant wing Hindustan Socialist Republican Army. Chandrasekhar Azad was elected Commander-in-Chief of Hindustan Socialist Republican Army, and his fictitious name was Balraj. So all leaflets which were thrown in Parliament, etc., or on Sanders' murder, they are signed by Balraj, in the name of Balraj. Balraj was Chandrasekhar Azad's name. He was Commander-in-Chief of militant wing of the Hindustan Socialist Republican Association. Was a political wing. It was and in the organization itself, Bhagat Singh and most likely Vijay Kumar Singh, they were elected a sort of conveners to connect the organization to all other groups in the country. So they were coordinators of the political wing. And other people like Shiv Verma was organizer of UP, Sukhdev was organizer of Punjab, Chaman Lal was organizer of Rajasthan, same way some other people. Now what has happened is that their path they have chosen. That time they also realized that dacoities or violent acts do not take us far. Although for a revolutionary organization, finances are a major problem. So from where to arrange funds? If people are not giving funds to that, and they have to depend upon dacoities. So one thing which they try to do is that they will not do individual dacoities. Some person's house will not be looted. They will loot only sarkari khazana, banks or something like that. So, but largely they had decided, and which was, very clearly, you mentioned to that Bhagat Singh's message, Bhagat Singh's message to Punjab Student Conference, which was held on 19th October 1929, when they were in jail, and they had sent a message of greetings to that conference. So Subhash Chandra Bose has presided over that. Bhagat Singh Kamagata Maru of the other party was also there. So many other national leaders are there. That conference report, you will be surprised to know that the Tribune of that day, reporting that conference, carried Tribune used to paper, like today also, of 16 pages or 20 pages. But out of 16 or 20 pages, on 8 pages, this Punjab Student Conference report was published in various columns. The main news was the prime news, front page, prime news, headline, main headline, where photograph of Netaji Subhash Chandra Bose was also published. Later on, different pages, some small continuation or something. That message was that we cannot ask our students to pick up bombs and pistols at this time. We can only tell them that this is the time to go to the farms, organize farmers, to go to the factories, organize workers. So workers' organization should be created, farmers' organization should be created, youth organization should be created, women organization should be created, and those mass organizations, he didn't condemn violence or reject violence. But he was very clear that in the initial phase of revolutionary movement, mass movement is the best movement. And that's how radical mass movement, they emphasized upon radical mass movement. They actually, in letter to young political workers, they have also written that one should learn from Mahatma Ji. Bhagat Singh has never used any abusive or demeaning word for Gandhi. He has always treated Gandhi with respect. This is all false propaganda, or sometimes falsehoods have been created. That one should learn from Mahatma Ji how to let people follow you, how you can influence people and people should follow you. That tactic should be learned from Mahatma Ji. But then in the same letter he has also mentioned that Mahatma Ji's, no one will be the naam lewa of Mahatma Ji. कोई महात्मा जी का नाम लेवा भी नहीं रहेगा. The kind of capitalist and feudal people, if they hold on to power, if they get into power, so nobody will be following Gandhi. That's also you. There he criticized Gandhi for his, airy ideas, his trusteeship, Siddhant, or all these things. What Gandhi thinks that he can change hearts of the capitalists or capitalists or feudals, which can become so human that they will give all their property for the welfare of society, for the workers, they will equally distribute. Nothing of the sort. This is all airy things. This is never going to happen. So, but you would learn from Gandhi. But what is the appeal which he has? How lakhs of people follow? That he wanted. And had Bhagat Singh allowed to live, he would have definitely. In fact, Gandhi himself was scared of this. And Gandhi, somebody may differ about it, but I am very sure Gandhi himself was scared of Bhagat Singh, that he is the person who can become a real challenge to him in the freedom struggle or as a national leader. Because Gandhi visited even Meerut conspiracy case communists. Meerut conspiracy case was against the communists. They were not defined communists. He has visited them. He never visited revolutionaries, Bhagat Singh and others. He never visited. Motilal Nehru visited, Jawaharlal Nehru visited, all these national leaders visited them in jails. They used to come to sometimes courts also. But Gandhi never. Gandhi never had a soft word. No, he has soft word only after they were executed. That मैंने वो बहुत देश के लिए प्यारे थे, बहुत सब कुछ उन्होंने कहा. Even then he said, but I will advise the youth not to follow Bhagat Singh. Very clearly, even when he paid his tributes, he said very clearly not to follow Bhagat Singh's ideas or Bhagat Singh, because he thought that his ideas are a sort of thing which doesn't suit the feudal and capitalist interests. And Gandhi represented the interests of feudals and capitalists. Capitalists particularly, because his home was G.D. Birla's. So he was always staying at G.D. Birla's home. Even in his simple living style, even with his charkha, even with his simple food. He used to go to Harijan Basti from G.D. Birla's house. Birla's house he will go to. So, I do not want to disrespect or demean Gandhi. I also consider him as a martyr. I consider Mahatma Gandhi as a martyr. I don't consider him as a Rashtrapati, but I consider him a martyr. He was a great martyr against communalism. Communal forces killed him. He fought against communalism, even though he was an atheist. He was a strong believer in Hinduism, but he was a liberal Hindu. He was not a Hindu which makes people hate other religions. He always wanted, he has a best of relations with Muslims of the Congress Party and other than Congress Party also. He has the best of relations with the other communities people also, Christians or whatever. So he, in his heart, was a real human heart, liberal human heart. In that sense, I respect him as a martyr against communism. Because Nathuram Godse, who killed him, so he was a symbol of communal hatred. And people are celebrating Nathuram Godse today. Shamelessly. Shamelessly, they are celebrating the Nathuram Godse. Maybe in your university also, some people or some groups might be having the picture of Nathuram Godse in their rooms. All of us have a bit of keeping pictures in our room. Some people keep picture of Bhagat Singh, some people keep picture of Marx, some people keep picture. So some people, if you make a survey, you may find 20, 30 pictures of Nathuram Godse in hospital rooms. It is possible. I am speculating, but I do not rule out the possibility of it. So, if today Gandhi's murderer can become a person who is venerated. In Aligarh there was it was very publicized also in the media, that a lady, she has a shot the Godse's putla, and the blood was shown and she was heroizing. She has shot Gandhi. as Godse, she has shot Gandhi, and that was viral in the whole media, that how Nathuram Godse is being heroized. So, had Bhagat Singh's ideas come, and Bhagat Singh's name was such, what I sometimes criticize left parties, that, ठीक है, मार्क्स, लेनिन, एंगल्स, सबके विचार बहुत ऊंचे हैं, उनसे हम प्रेरणा लेते हैं, पूरी दुनिया प्रेरणा लेती है, इंस्पायर होते हैं. बट द कंट्रीज ओन हीरोज, people have emotional connect with country's own heroes. Cuba, we talk about Castro and Che Guevara, we venerate. But Cuban people, even Che Guevara or Castro, they have the first place for Jose Marti. If you go to Cuba, in people's houses, the small, I have gone and seen, people have in their small houses, they are not very big houses, they have small houses, in their small houses in the front of the house, they don't have the Che Guevara Murti or Castro. And Castro was against the statues, so he never allowed to big statue. I think even now there is no Castro statues in Cuba, because he is strongly spoken against it. You will find small, busts of Jose Marti in people's house. So people have emotional connect with Jose Marti. From Jose Marti, they have built the whole country, and then they, succeeded in the revolution. Same way, if you take the example of Venezuela or some other Latin American countries. So their Bolivar is the national hero of many countries, not only Venezuela. It's even Bolivia, and there are 4 or 5 more countries which venerate Bolivar like anything. Chavez has built on that, and that's why he called his revolution as Bolivarian revolution. The Venezuelan revolution, succeeded by Chavez, is called, Chavez has come to our university. Do you know? Chavez has come to this our playground, what is called that stadium. It was huge in 2004. I was not in JNU at that time, but I have acquired especially his speech. Somebody might be having the speech of Chavez in JNU. It's a very interesting speech, 1 hour speech. You can find on social media, you'll find it. And you can, feel proud of that Chavez has come and has spoken here. And anyway, so I was focusing on the significance of national heroes, which are pre-Marxist, which are not Marxist heroes. But in our case, Bhagat Singh was almost a Marxist. And Bolivar was not a Marxist. He was not a Marxist. Bhagat Singh was almost a Marxist. So if they had built their movement with the emotional connect of people with Bhagat Singh, they would have followed more. Communist Party may have got more following, more people following it, and they could have countered the propaganda of the rightist parties that they are just following international, this Russian revolution, Chinese revolution. इनको हिंदुस्तान से तो कुछ लेना देना नहीं. That would have given the much strength. Communist Party has the Gandhi as a model, as a, their icon. So these icons are built consciously. Not that Gandhi was that great. I think Mandela was more great than Gandhi as an anti-colonial hero. But international capitalism, international capitalist countries, they also want Gandhi to be the icon of anti-colonialism. They don't want Nelson Mandela. Nelson Mandela, who has suffered 27 years in that prison, such harsh conditions, which you can never imagine. That his statue is also there before British Parliament in the square in London. There Gandhi's statue is also there. Consciously, Mandela is never built an image, an icon, as Gandhi they want to build. And they are keeping that image. Because Mandela was also, Communist Party was part of South African Congress Party. Their Communist and Congress have fought together. And one of the Communist Party leaders later became president also of South Africa. He was never against violence. They had suffered so much violence at the hands of nationalism that they had no way not to counter it with the violence. So the counter violence, so that international capitalism never works. That people should think of countering that or their oppression through counter violence. So counter violence is defensive violence. It's not a aggressive violence. Aggressive violence is by the capitalism, by the imperialism. When people counter that violence, that is a defensive violence. People have to save themselves. I will give you the, you see how Gandhian methods and Bhagat Singh thought create wonders. That wonder was created by the farmers' movement in 1920-21. This 1 year or 14 months long movement at Singh border and Tikri border, many of you might have visited those places also. Many of the farmers' organizations were radical. They were followers of Bhagat Singh. But in spite of followers of Bhagat Singh, they had decided not to counter state violence by defense, not even defensive violence. They just decided to suffer because they understood that just एक मिट्टी का ठेला भी अगर हमने फेंक दिया पुलिस के ऊपर तो they will find an excuse and crush us like anything, despite thousands of people there, despite such a huge mass that they had crushed farmers' movement practically by all means, the kind of things which in no other country such oppressive measures have been taken against their own people, and particularly farmers or workers. They do lathi charge, they do all kind of things in any country, but the kind of things have been done in this country that is a shame on this so-called democracy, what they call this Indian democracy. This is a shame on them. And a kind of creating that इतने तीखे तीखे वो सब निकाले हुए हैं, उनमें सबकी बरसात के मौसम में, सर्दी के मौसम में 80-90 साल के बुजुर्गों से लेकर 6-6 साल के बच्चे तक ने और औरतों से लेकर मर्दों तक ने सब ने कितना जुल्म सहा है, इसकी कोई उदाहरण नहीं मिलती पूरे हिंदुस्तान के, ये खासतौर पे 75 साल के अंग्रेज़ों के दौरान भी इतने जुल्म की उदाहरण नहीं। रेयर, इवन जलियांवाला बाग इज कंसिडर्ड द वर्स्ट काइंड ऑफ oppression by the colonialism. That apart, but other than that, this last 11 years present ruling class has created much worse Jallianwala Bagh on the Singhu and Tikri borders. In Jallianwala Bagh also, there were about 1,000 people killed just in 10 minutes. So it was a direct firing on people by dare. Here, more than 700 farmers have been, I would say, killed, murdered. Or other side means, farmer will say that they are our shaheed. फार्मर के लिए शहीद हैं, लेकिन उनको शहीद ऐसे किया गया जैसे ब्रिटिश कॉलोनियल में बाई लीगलिटी भगत सिंह को किया। भगत सिंह was murdered, so the Kisans were also murdered by the state, by their oppression. किसान मूवमेंट के डेफिनेटली वो शहीद हैं, बट फार्मर्स मूवमेंट हैज कंबाइंड भगत सिंह थॉट विद गांधी मेट. So in that sense, we respect Gandhi for his methods also. But sometimes non-violence, actually even Marx has said that if capitalists are prepared to hand over the power to workers without any violence, so why should people make revolution? Even Marx has spoken in favor of non-violence, but Marx has also underlined that without violence, this never happened. It has never happened in the history of the world. So, even today, this much is certain that if anybody cares about people's demands, popular demands, like formal demands, भगत सिंह के ज़माने में भी, या जिस साल भगत सिंह का जन्म हुआ 1907 में भी पगड़ी संभाल जट्टा मूवमेंट हुई थी, जिसको लीड किया था भगत सिंह के चाचा अजीत सिंह और लाला लाजपत राय जी पड़ोस में शामिल। दैट पगड़ी संभाल जट्टा मूवमेंट, और 6 महीने के अंदर अंदर अंग्रेज़ों ने वो काले कानून वापस ले लिए बिना किसी किसान की जान ली। कोई किसान उसमें शहीद नहीं हुआ। जेल हुई, अजीत सिंह और लाला लाजपत राय को मांडले जेल में भेजा। बहुत सारे लोगों को और अत्याचार हुए होंगे, लाठी बरसाई होगी, सब कुछ हुआ होगा, जायदादें जब्त की होगी, कई सारे जुल्म हुए होंगे। लेकिन जो जुल्म 2020-21 में हमारे देश के किसानों ने 100 का हमारी सरकार ने किया है, वो ब्रिटिश कॉलोनियल गवर्नमेंट ने नहीं किया। और दो इनका कंट्रास्ट आप देख सकते हैं कि 1907 के किसान आंदोलन और 2020 का किसान आंदोलन, दोनों सरकारों ने किस तरीके से इस आंदोलन को डील किया। हाउ द सो कॉल्ड नेशनल गवर्नमेंट, सुपर नेशनल गवर्नमेंट, अति राष्ट्रवादी सरकार ने किस तरह से हमारे देश के किसानों को कुचला है बुरी तरीके से, जो तमाम जातियों से, तमाम धर्मों से, तमाम प्रांतों से, महाराष्ट्र से लेके पंजाब तक कोई प्रांत नहीं था ऐसा, सब देश के सारी जनता के किसानों को जिस तरीके से पिछला गया है, इसका कोई उदाहरण और नहीं मिलता। और ये जब इतिहास लिखा जाएगा तो ये सब कुछ काले पन्ने आएंगे सामने, जो जिसको आप स्वर्णिम इतिहास बता रहे हो अपने 10-11 साल को, ये देश का सबसे काला इतिहास है। मैंने पाकिस्तान में कहा जाता है कि जनरल जियाउल हक का 11 साल का रजीम जो था, इज द मोस्ट ब्लैकेस्ट रजीम, एंटी पीपल रजीम ऑफ पाकिस्तान। हमारे देश में भी दुर्भाग्य से वही होने जा रहा है, हो रहा है कि 11 साल तो हो गए, जिया का टाइम तो हो गया। द ब्लैकेस्ट फील्ड वी आर गोइंग थ्रू, वट एवर नेम दे मे गिव इट, अति राष्ट्रवाद, सुपर नेशनलिज्म, देशभक्त, जो कुछ नहीं, किसी ने उंगली कटा तक, उंगली का खून तक नहीं देश की आज़ादी के लिए, जो आज सबसे बड़े भक्त और राष्ट्रवादी बने करते हैं। कोई दिखा दो, एक नाम दिखा दे तो देश के लिए फांसी करा, देश के लिए जेल में उसने कैद कर दिया। आज वही अपने आप को सबसे बड़े राष्ट्रवादी कहते हैं, सबसे बड़े अपने आप को देशभक्त कहते हैं। और उन सब देशभक्तों लोगों को, जो आज के भक्त सिंह, जो आज के सच्चे राष्ट्रवादी हैं, जो जनता के लिए लड़ते हैं, उन सबकी जेलों में डाला गया, इंक्लूडिंग यूर JNU स्टूडेंट्स। ये JNU के स्टूडेंट से ज़्यादा देशभक्त में नहीं मानता। JNU के स्टूडेंट देशभक्त, सबसे अच्छे देशभक्त, ना कि नकली देशभक्त। तो ये सारी चीज़ें जो है ना, वो इस तरह की चीज़ें, हाउ मच टाइम शुड आई conclude? Yeah. So let's come back to the main focus of the thing. That what kind of nation Bhagat Singh wanted, as we were celebrating birth anniversary. And I would like to conclude. In the beginning of Bhagat yesterday, I had said, because उन्होंने भी आर्टिकल पढ़ा भगत सिंह के सपने। इज इट भगत सिंह के सपनों का भारत, और इज इट नॉट? व्हाट वाज भगत सिंह के सपनों का भारत? क्या भगत सिंह के सपनों का भारत क्या हो सकता था? जो कुछ मैं भगत सिंह की जिंदगी और उसकी राइटिंग से समझा, मेरी अपनी समझ के मुताबिक, कल मैंने वहाँ 3 बातें कही थी, वही 3 बातें मैं आज आपको यहाँ दोहराऊँ। सबसे पहली बात, भगत सिंह wanted a real secular India where there is no discrimination or difference between the people on the grounds of either religion or caste or gender or even age. यहाँ पे हर नागरिक का समान अधिकार, डिग्निटी सबकी बराबर है। ऐसा नहीं कि मुसलमान को सड़क पे चलते हुए डर लगे कि मुझे लिंच कर दिया जाए, या किसी दूसरे आदमी को डर लगे कि मुझे अपने विचारों के कारण कोई पीट देगा, मार देगा, जो आज कॉमन चीज़ है, या ट्रोल करेगा, गालियाँ निकालेगा, मुझे सोशल मीडिया पे मुझे 100 तरह की गालियाँ निकालेगा। भगत सिंह अगर जिंदा होते तो इन सब चीज़ों का वो ज़बरदस्त विरोध करते। ही वुड हैव wanted to see India a truly secular country with equal rights and equal dignity for all kinds of people, men and women, religious and non-religious. There are people who are non-religious. Non-religious people are also targeted in this regime. नास्तिक कह के भी गालियाँ दी जाती हैं, पीटा भी जाता है कई बार। Religious or non-religious, any religion believing, any caste believing. So this one part. Second thing which I think as if you have to summarize, if you have to put in few words, Bhagat Singh would have wanted socialist India, whether you use word socialist or not, as for ड्रामे के लिए हमारे कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन में सोशलिज्म वर्ड डाला हुआ, सेक्युलरिज्म भी डाला हुआ, वो ड्रामे के लिए डाला, वो रियलिटी में नहीं। वो मैंने अब जो ड्रामा भी बर्दाश्त नहीं कर सकते, अब उन वर्ड्स को भी निकाल देना चाहिए। मैंने डाला तो ये ड्रामे के लिए, नाटक के लिए, बट इट्स द रियल नीड। सेक्युलर इंडिया इज द रियल नीड भगत सिंह वांटेड, एंड सोशलिस्ट इंडिया इज ऑल्सो द रियल नीड। इवन इफ यू डोंट use socialist, what Bhagat Singh wanted, that proper fruits for the labor of workers and peasants and of any kind of people. जो भी काम करने वाले लोग हैं, मेहनत करते हैं, चाहे वो किसान हो, मजदूर हो, मध्य वर्ग के लोग हों, सबको उनकी मेहनत का सही पारिश्रमिक मिलना चाहिए। अभी आप कि मिडिल क्लास की मैं थोड़ी सी बात करूँ जो आपको पिंच भी करती होगी, कि आप लोग PhD करके कहीं ढूंढते फिरते हो कि मुझे कुछ मिल जाए, तो एक स्कूल वाला आपको टीचर रख लेता है 5,000 रुपये या 3,000 रुपये या 2,000 रुपये। उससे भी जो कहना चाहिए दुखद बात ये है, एक स्कूल का रेगुलर टीचर जिसको 40,000 तनख्वाह मिलती है, अब थोड़ा वो ट्रेंड कम हुआ है, वो 40,000 लेने वाला टीचर एक नौजवान स्टूडेंट को जो अभी MA करके निकला है या यहाँ तक कि PhD करके निकला है, उसको कहता है तू मेरी जगह क्लास लीजिए कर स्कूल में और मैं तुझे 2 महीना दे दूँ। मैंने भीख, इट्स ए काइंड ऑफ गिवन आर्म्स टू दो स्टूडेंट्स और दोज यंग पीपल टू होम यू आर ट्रीटिंग लाइक दैट। मैंने वो जो टीचर, मैं किसी टीचर को बुरा नहीं कह रहा, मैं खुद स्कूल में पढ़ाया हूँ, लेकिन जो टीचर ये करता है, जिसकी अपनी एजुकेशन BA B.Ed है, वो एक PhD स्टूडेंट को 2,000 रुपये देता है जो उससे कहीं ज़्यादा पढ़ा हुआ है, कहीं ज़्यादा काबिल है, और भिक्षा की तरह देता है। मैं तो 40,000 50,000 मुझे, और वो अपने गाँव में मज़े से खेती करता है, अपने मज़े से व्यापार करता है, कुछ भी करता है। एंड दैट इज ए सैड कमेंट्री ऑन सम सेक्शन ऑफ आवर ओन सोसाइटी, टीचर और समथिंग। So this is reality. You cannot ignore it. You cannot deny it. So भगत सिंह के लिए ये था, ये तो हो ही नहीं सकता था कि भगत सिंह के सपनों का भारत होता और किसी को 2,000 रुपये कॉन्ट्रैक्ट करता है, उसको प्रॉपर फुल सैलरी पे रेगुलर जॉब के देनी लाजमी, और मजदूर को भी, किसान को भी, सबको उसकी सुरक्षा की गारंटी होती, जॉब की सुरक्षा की गारंटी, उसकी हेल्थ की गारंटी, उसकी शिक्षा की गारंटी, ये सारी चीज़ें उसमें शामिल होनी चाहिए थी, जो सोशल स्टेटमेंट की वजह से विश्व में है। और तीसरी चीज़ तो ये होती कि वो कभी भी अल्ट्रा नेशनलिज्म में इंडल्ज नहीं करता। वो वसुधैव कुटुंबकम में रियल सेंस में विश्वास करते हैं कि सारी दुनिया के मजदूर एक हैं, सारी दुनिया के इंसान एक। ये जो देशों की रेखाएं बांटी गई हैं, ये इंसान ने खुद अपनी जरूरत के लिए बांटी है। नेशन स्टेट, देयर वाज नो नेशन स्टेट इन द पर्टिकुलर टाइम ऑफ हिस्ट्री। In the particular time of history, we were living somewhere in Africa, somewhere in some part of the land. Slowly and slowly, the civilization developed, and slowly tribes developed, and slowly, sort of, group of nations developed, and slowly, the nation concept has come just against colonialism. When a country has started, कब्जा जमाना शुरू कर दिया, अंग्रेज़ों ने 60 मुल्कों पे कब्जा कर लिया, फ्रांस ने 40 मुल्कों के अफ्रीकी मुल्कों पे कब्जा कर लिया, स्पेन के पास 20 मुल्कों का कब्जा था, तो उसके खिलाफ जो स्ट्रगल हुई, तो दैट क्रिएटेड एक्चुअली स्ट्रॉन्ग सेंस ऑफ नेशनलिज्म. Nationalism is not a fake concept, it's a real concept, but it should be understood properly in the context, historical context. Neither it's a permanent context. Nobody can say that after 1,000 years or after 100 years, if humanity survives, if Trump and Netanyahu don't destroy this world, then you can say this world might be different. There may have been no nation. There may be. आप थोड़ा लिटरेचर पढ़ा कीजिए, राहुल सांकृत्यायन की किताब पढ़िए हिंदी में 22वीं सदी, वो बहुत पढ़ने लायक है, वो बहुत पुरानी किताब है. तो 22वीं सदी में राहुल ने कुछ कल्पना की है कि दुनिया कैसी होगी 22वीं सदी में. अभी 21वीं सदी में तो बर्बाद हो रही है, तो इसलिए 22वीं सदी में वो आने वाली नहीं है जो राहुल ने सोची थी. राहुल सांकृत्यायन के सपनों, लेकिन राहुल सांकृत्यायन ने जो उसमें एक सपना दिया, उस वक्त कल्पना की है. सो उसको आप देखिए ज़रूर और अपने में ये यकीन पैदा करिए कि 22वीं सदी सचमुच हो सकती है. अगर वो 22वीं सदी में नहीं होगी तो 23वीं सदी आपके अगली पीढ़ियों बाद होगी. जैसे मेरी पीढ़ी में मैं जानता हूँ कि इन माई एज दिस डार्कनेस विल नॉट एंड. I will not see the light at the end of the tunnel. My life is not, I don't see that this dark period will end in my life. But in your life it's possible. आज मैंने दिन में DSF कॉन्फ्रेंस में गई. Keep resisting. Never stop resisting. मेरे गुरु पंडित प्रोफेसर की बात है, वे हमसे डरते हैं. वे हमसे क्यों डरते हैं? कि लोग हमसे डरना बंद कर देंगे. जिस दिन लोग डरना बंद कर देंगे तो जो डराने वाले हैं वो खुद डरने लगेंगे. ये प्रेजेंट रजीम है, वो खुद डराता है और ऐसा स्केयर और फियर पैदा करता है कि कुछ भी हो सकता है. लेकिन जिस दिन आप स्टैंड कर गए, छाती तान के खड़े हो गए, तो खुद डर जाए. The regime will get scared. अभी देखिए regime कैसे स्केयर होता है. एक कोई बहुत शांति प्रिय आदमी, सोनू निगम जैसा आदमी, he just stands. वो तो बहुत ही बेचारा शांति प्रिय आदमी है. उसने क्या किया? खाली उसकी मांग गलत भी हो सकती है, आप उसको काउंटर करो कि ये मांग गलत है. लोगों के बीच लेके जाओ कि कौन सी बात सही है, कौन सी बात गलत है. आप भी उसको प्राइज देते हैं, आप भी उसको ऑनर करते हैं और आप भी उसको डालकर PSA में जेल में बंद कर देते हैं. दैट मीन्स कि रिजीम इज स्केयर्ड ऑफ. इतने शांति प्रिय से आदमी से रिजीम डर गया. ये तो डरपोक लोग मैंने अपने आप को जो शेर दिखाते हैं, ये शेर के तो गीदड़ से भी गए देते. और बस एक बार लोगों के खड़े, जैसे किसानों ने सिर्फ एक रास्ता हम लोगों को, हमारे मध्य वर्ग को, हम लोग मध्य वर्ग किसानों जैसा संघर्ष नहीं लड़ सकते, लेकिन हम लोगों ने किसानों के संघर्ष देखा. आज जो आप JNU में भी थोड़ा बहुत स्पेस हासिल कर रहे हो, कुछ मैंने आज ये सब कि आप लोग पिछले कई सालों से पूरी तरह से आइसोलेट कर दिए गए थे, तो धीरे धीरे आप अपना स्पेस वापस ले. तो धीरे धीरे ये स्पेस वापस लेने की ताकत भी आपको किसान आंदोलन ने दी है, जिसने जीत के दिखाया है कि हम कुर्बानियाँ देके जीत सकते. आप भी जीत सकते. आज नहीं जीतोगे, कल इसलिए टू स्टैंड टू रेजिस्ट, दैट इज द बेस्ट मैसेज फ्रॉम भगत सिंह, that Bhagat Singh inspired farmer movement, but Bhagat Singh should more inspire student in this. You should feel more inspired by Bhagat Singh's idea. I think that here I will stop. Thank you.